Among the tapestry of rulers who shaped the history of the Indian subcontinent, Emperor Aurangzeb's reign stands out as one of the most debated and discussed. An emperor of contrast, his rule is an intricate blend of ambitions, religious fervor, strategic genius, and to some misjudgment. Aurangzeb wasn't destined to be the Mughal emperor by the simple virtue of his birth order. Born in 1618, he was a third son of Emperor Shah Jahan and Empress Mumtaz Mahal. In a royal court pulsating with politics and power struggles, Aurangzeb's journey to the throne was anything but smooth. The Mughal royal court of the 17th century was a simmering pot of political alliances, betrayals, and backdoor strategies. Each prince was often pitted against his brothers in a tussle for the ultimate power. In 1658, Aurangzeb's ambition had firmly set him on the path to the throne. He challenged his elder brother, Dara Shikoh, in a series of battles. The culmination was not just Dara Shikoh's defeat, but his subsequent execution. This victory was showed by another audacious move. Aurangzeb imprisoned his father, Shah Jahan, ensuring his uncontested dominance. Shah Jahan, the creator of the Taj Mahal, one of the world's wonder, spent his last days gazing upon his creation from his prison in the Agra fort. Upon consolidating his rule, Aurangzeb's governance reflected deep religious convictions. Historians often point to his reign as a period of increased Islamic orthodoxy. His commitment to Sunni Islam was unquestionable, and he sought to manifest it within his territories. One of his most controversial decisions was to destroy several Hindu temples. Such actions were not just about bricks and stones, but symbolized a tectonic shift in the empire's religious and cultural ethos. India, with its tapestry of religions, had seen centuries of coexistence. The Mughal Empire, founded by Babur in the early 16th century, had largely promoted religious tolerance. Emperors like Akbar were celebrated for their inclusive policies. Aurangzeb's temple destruction policies stood in sharp contrast. Temples like the revered Kashi Vishwanath and Varanasi and the Krishna temple in Mathura were said to be targeted. The reason for these demolitions are a matter of intense debate among historians. While some argue it was purely religious zeal, others believe it was political, intending to quell certain rebellious factions. Regardless of the reasons, the fallout was evident. The Rajputs, who had been staunch alliances of the Mughals, began to distance themselves. They were not alone in their discontent. The Marathas in the Deccan and the Sikhs in the Punjab, both emerging as formidable forces, found themselves at odds with Aurangzeb's vision for the empire. Aurangzeb's policies had ripple effects. The Rajputs, traditionally allies and even kin of the Mughal dynasty through intermarriages, felt marginalized. Their sense of estrangement was further intensified by emperors' military campaigns in their territories. Beyond the Rajputs, the Marathas and the Sikh, two significant power centers in the subcontinent, were also loggerheads with Aurangzeb's administration. These tensions often escalated into full-blown conflicts, draining resources and lives. Yet Aurangzeb's administrative acumen wasn't all destructive. The emperor was a formidable strategist. Under his leadership, the Mughal Empire reached its territorial zenith, stretching its boundaries to include vast regions of the Indian subcontinent. But his aggressive expansion was a double-edged sword. The administrative challenges of governing such vast territories were mammoth. The more the empire expanded, the more its internal cohesion was tested. The financial health of the empire also began to falter. While the Mughal treasuries had once bulged with gold and jewels, the incessant military campaigns combined with decreasing tax revenues took their toll. Discontent simmered and cracks began to appear in the once indomitable Mughal Empire. Aurangzeb's death in 1707 marked the end of an era. An emperor who had lived amidst unparalleled luxury chose the modest end. He was buried in an unassuming grave in Kuldabad near Aurangabad, a far cry from the opulent tombs of his predecessors. But with his death, the problems of the empire didn't end. They intensified. Following Aurangzeb's death, the Mughal Empire faced a tumultuous power vacuum, with multiple claimants vying for the throne. At the heart of this power struggle was Muazzam, later known as Bahadur Shah I. Older than his rivals and possessing both experience and deep understanding of empire's politics, Muazzam wasn't going to be a bystander in the fight for the throne. He engaged in a fierce conflict with his younger brother, Azam Shah. The two clashed in the decisive battle of Jaju, but Muazzam's forces emerged triumphant. With this victory, he cemented his position and ascended the throne as Bahadur Shah I. His rise to power, however, was not just a product of military might, but also his ability to navigate the intricate politics of the Mughal court. The subsequent years saw multiple successors, each trying to stake a claim to the throne. Their internal strife, combined with external pressures and a depleted treasury, signaled the beginning of the end of the Mughal Empire. During the time of Aurangzeb and his successor, Bahadur Shah I, also known as Muazzam, European powers were actively expanding their influence and presence in the Indian subcontinent. During Aurangzeb's reign, the English East Indian Company had already established trading posts in various parts of India. Aurangzeb granted them special trading privileges in return for the acknowledgement of Mughal authority and payment of regular tributes. During the reign of Bahadur Shah I, the company was further consolidating its influence, especially in Bengal. Their primary focus was trade. Political and territorial ambitions were starting to take shape, especially after gaining the rights to collect revenues in certain regions. The Dutch East Indian Company was primarily focused on trade, especially in the southern part of India and the Coromandel coast. They were a dominant force in the spice trade and competed with the other European powers for supremacy in various trade hubs. During Aurangzeb's reign, the Portuguese had established themselves in India much before the British and the Dutch. By Aurangzeb's time, they controlled territories like Goa, Daman, and Diu. However, their influence was waning due to increasing competition from other European powers and confrontations with the Mughals. During Bahadur Shah's first reign, the decline in Portuguese influence continued, though they managed to retain control of their established territories. The French East Indian Company was a relatively late entrant compared to the British and the Dutch. By the end of Bahadur Shah's first reign, they were beginning to establish their foothold, especially in southeast coast, with Pondicherry as a significant base. They were setting the stage for larger territorial and political ambitions in India, which would manifest more predominantly in the 18th century. While the Mughal Empire under Aurangzeb was at its territorial zenith, the internal challenges in the beginning of its decline during Bahadur Shah's first reign provided a backdrop during which European powers were maneuvering to expand their influence, trade, and eventually control over Indian territories. Aurangzeb remains a complex figure in history. His reign, spanning nearly 50 years, was a period of contrast. While he expanded the empire to its territorial peak, the seeds of its decline were also sown in this era. His religious policies, particularly concerning Hindu temples, continue to be a focal point of discussion and debates. As we look back at annals of history, Aurangzeb stands as a testament to the complexities of rulership, the challenges of governance, the the interplay of personal belief with state policies, and the overarching narrative of an empire's rise and fall are all embodied in his story. Aurangzeb, always a devout Muslim, became increasingly introspective and religiously inclined in his later years. He is known to have been disillusioned by the worldly affair of his court and empire. There are accounts suggesting that he took to personally copying the Quran and stitching prayer caps, selling them anonymously. He used the modest proceeds for his sustenance and personal expenses, aiming to live a life reminiscent of simpler means. Thank you for watching my content. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and please do put your comments. Thank you.